Engine oil quality, belts and hoses, back compression, head gasket leak, paints, panels, shockers, tires, bad piston rings, transmission fluid, coolant, etc. etc. And there are hell lot of things that you need to check while inspecting a used car. So in the next 15 minutes, I am going to walk you through all of these and also give you a pro tip on how to buy a used car. So stay tuned. Let's go. Big day for this guy. Say hello. Oi. Hello. We are here to buy a used car for him. There it is. Look at this. This is the car we are going to see. So we had many more options right here, but this is the car that we are gonna check today, and I'll show you everything one by one. While walking towards the car, first thing you might want to check is the paint. So check from different angles, try to get shades on it. So you want to match the paint of the car from the roof to other panels. If they are matching, that's a good thing. Other thing, you might want to check for fillers, so you can knock and check the sounds. So here, if you listen to the sounds, they are all metallic. Other good thing is to carry a magnet, and you can check by sticking the magnet. So if there are fillers on the body, you will get to know the magnets will not stick so good. So that's how you check the paint. Next thing you want to check is the panel gaps. The panel gap should be consistent. So check for all of these. Wherever the panel gap is not consistent, that means that part has been repaired. So you see here it is consistent, but the headlight, this gap looks like too big. So either the headlight or the bonnet has been changed. We will figure it out later. If it is the headlights, that's not a major deal. But if the bonnet has been repaired, that means the car has been in an accident. So that's one. Next major thing is the tires. So these can be very expensive to change, so you want to check them carefully. What you want to see is that all the 4 tires should be same. If not, then at least the 2 tires should, the 2 pairs, the front and the back, should be of the same company, and there should be no visible damages like cracks or anything. But the next thing you want to check is the wear and tear. So here you see in the tread line there is a small wall. This shows the minimum tire level. This is 1.6 millimeter. So if the tread matches with this wall here, you'll find these walls throughout the tread. So like that's one down here, another one here. If it has reached to that line, that means you need to change the tire, and you can negotiate with the dealers for a cheaper price. For this car, the treads are way above the tread wear indicator, so I think they are more than 50% now. Another thing to check is the consistency of wear. So throughout this width of the tire, the consistency should be same. So that means the car is aligned and aligned properly, because if it is not aligned, it might wear out from one side and the other side is still fine. So you might want to check for that. The underbody, like that's like one of the most important checks. So you want to go under the car and check for any major leaks, anything visible like oil dripping or anything, because if there is any oil leaks, obviously gravity works and it drips down. Check in this engine, I do not see any drips or any oil. Everything is neat and clean, so that's a good sign. To be specific, you need to look at the differential and right under the engine. If you see any leaks, oil dripping, or a lot of oil on the parts, that's a bad sign, and we rejected one of the cars just because it was dripping a lot of oil under the engine. Check for the running board for any rust or anything. If you see here, you see this running board looks good, no rust or anything, everything good here. And another good place to check is in the rear of the car, where the spare tire sits. So this bay where the spare tire sits, you want to check it for any crumples or anything, because if the car has been in a rear accident, it's very difficult to fix this, and like quite close to impossible, and they cannot. So if this is crumpled, that means car has been in a rear accident. That's not the case for this one, so that's good. Next thing you want to check is the shockers. So how you check it is just press the car once and leave it. So it should not keep bouncing, it should just come back up once and slowly. So that means your shockers are good. Same thing you can do to the other side. So this one looks good, shockers look good. Another thing you want is, you want to check from here. Can you see? There should be no oil leaks in the shockers. So Right there is the shocker, and I don't see any oil leaks, so that's a good sign. So shockers are good. Now outside the exterior checks are okay. Now I'll just pop the hood open. Time to check the engine bay. Next thing you want to check is overall look of the engine bay. It looks nice and clean. If it is too clean, that raises some doubts, like maybe the dealer is trying to hide something, but we'll find out if there is something. So, but still we are going for the body first. So you want to check the side fender support. It should not be crumpled like these things. If they are crumpled, that means it has been in an accident. You might want to check the shocker shocker mounts. Here you look for rust or anything. And then you also want to check the front core support. This thing also should not be bent. Here it is covered with the plastic, so you can just look inside. The metal part should not be bent. The bonnet. In this bonnet, you want to check the seals. So these seals, like these are original company fitted. If they are very hard and cannot be pressed with your nails, because if this is repaired, the seals that usually outside workers put, they are not so hard, they are soft. So you might want to check this for all the panels. If they are hard, that's a good sign, it has not been repaired. And then you want to check these bolts. So if it is repaired, you might see some tool marks on them, some wear and tear, like you can see in this bolt. If you focus on this, you see the side paint is chipped off, and there are marks of tools. So this has been opened, but these are not opened, and these are in the original state, so that's a good sign. Our bonnet is in a perfect condition, so there's no problem with that. So I told you earlier, right, so there is this inconsistent gap here. So now looking at the body, the chassis, I can make out that it has something to do with the headlight, and since it is repaired, so it is not a big thing for me. If it was some problem with the body, the chassis, then we might just directly reject the car. Yeah, to reject the car, you might want to see this. Come closer. You see this is the main chassis of the car. This big rod right here, this big thing, this big piece of iron, this on the right side also. This is the main body. If you see any crumples or any damages on this is the main chassis, just directly reject the car. There's no point spending any more time on it. Another thing you want to check is the pulleys. The belts and the hoses. So the belts should not be too shiny, and it should be tight. It should not have any slag in it, and the hoses should not bulge out. They should be in proper shape. These pipes, they should not have any cracks on it. So everything looks good here. Next thing is like another very important thing. We are going to check the engine oil, and it's a good idea to carry some tissue papers. Mere side. It's a good idea to carry some tissue papers with you, because it's a dirty business. Yeah, so this thing right here, it's a ring like thing. You just pull it out. This is the dipstick to check the engine oil. First time, you just take it out, clean it, and put it back. There it goes. Now wait for 1, 2, 3 seconds, and just pull it back out, and you see the oil level here, it shows till here, right? Let me just clean it for you, and then I will tell you. Yeah, so this dot is maximum, and this dot is the minimum, and our oil level was still here. So that's like that's exactly what we want. It should be between these two dots, and some dipsticks have a cut here, so it's the same thing. So you can check like that. Now checking the quality of the engine oil. To check the quality of the engine oil, you see here, you have to check the color of the engine oil. Here you see it's amber color, so that means the car has been run maybe 2000 3000 kilometers after putting the oil. If it is brown or black, that means it's time to change the engine oil, and you might get a bargain on the car. Also, you need to check for any metal particles in the oil. That's a very bad sign. Next place is this engine oil cap. Just take it off. In this, you check the cap for any white sludge or metal parts or anything. If they are there, that's a bad sign. Then you can directly reject the car. That might be a head gasket leak. And the same thing you can check in the coolant cap as well. Right here is the coolant cap. Both the caps should be nice and clean, no sludges or anything. Here also it is good. So also since we are here, how to check the coolant? You check the coolant, it should be filled up to level, and the color of the coolant should be a bright color. It can be orange, red, or it can be green like in this case, but it should be a bright color and it should not be dark or having any sludges in that. That's a very bad sign. That might be a head gasket leak. Also, take a quick look inside the fuel filler cap as well. Here you might not see but in the camera, but I can see it. So it might be easier to clean the fuel filler cap, but you will still see some traces of sludge inside the engine. So make sure you check that. Okay, so at the same time, check for other fluids. Like this is brake fluid, it is topped up, it shows till this level, so that's good. We don't need to put brake fluid. Here we have another dipstick which is for the transmission oil. Now checking this is again the same procedure. You just pull it out and you see this minimum sign, maximum sign. Check for color just like we checked for the engine oil. So that's how. Some cars have a closed transmission system. In those you might not get a dipstick for this, but if you have it, just make sure you check it also. So all the fluids in this car look good. There's no problems at all. Also you can check the radiator cap. I just make sure the car is not running while checking the radiator cap. So here you see there is no sludge or anything. That's a good sign. So all the fluids are good in this car. Time to start the car for the first time. My friend will help me start it, and then you should check for the smoke when you are starting it for the first time. This is a cold start. Okay, start now. See, for the first start you don't see any blue smoke or white smoke. Blue smoke means that there is the intake valves are leaking, and white smoke means that your car is burning oil. Both are really bad signs. Just reject the car right away. In this case we didn't see anything, so that's a good sign. This clear smoke. Sometimes there is water dripping from the exhaust pipe, and that's also a good sign. That's just condensation, nothing to worry about. Now while the car is running, just open this fuel filler cap, and on idle check if you feel any pressure on this. A very light pressure is normal, but if you feel something, a suction, feel high suction, or this is spitting out oil, that's a very bad sign. Then you can reject the car. Same thing you might want to check from the dipstick. If this dipstick hole is spitting out oil, that means there is back compression on your car, and that's a very bad sign. So you can just reject the car, right? In this car, while on idle, I do not see anything. There is no spitting out of oil or anything. Also, keep your ears open while the engine is running and listen for any weird noises, maybe clicking or grinding. The constant click that you hear in this engine, those are the fuel injectors, and that is absolutely normal, so nothing to worry about. But if you hear any inconsistent clicks or a grinding noise, those might be really small parts, but let's say the pilot bearing is gone bad. But when you go to replace it, the mechanic will have to take the whole engine apart, and that will obviously be very heavy on your pocket. So make sure you listen to the engine sounds very carefully. When it is idling, you might want to check the idle. So here you see it is idling at a constant RPM, that is around 700 RPM, but it should be constant, so that's a good sign. Now rev the car to 2000 RPM. So now while it is running on 2000 RPM, you again need to check in the oil filler cap and in the dipstick. There should not be any back compression any more than the normal back compression that it had on idle, and also in the stick it should not be spitting out any oil. The compression is still same and there is no suction, so that's a good sign again. While doing this, check for, while revving it to 2000, make sure you don't rev it too much. At 2000 also the pressure should be consistent. It should not spit out oil. Same for the oil cap, it should not spit out oil. A little bit, droplets are fine, but not too much. So it is not throwing any more pressure than it is expected to, so that's a good sign. There is no back compression in this engine and it looks good. If in case dipstick or the oil filler cap, if it is spitting out oil while you're revving the car, that means the car has back compression. So you might want to reject the cars right away. And at the same time, while revving at 2000 again, you might want to check the smoke also. Chal rev it to 2000. You might want to check the smoke also. So there should not be any white smoke or blue smoke. If the car is giving blue smoke, that means the walls are leaking, and if it is giving white smoke, that means a head gasket leak. So you might again want to reject the car. In this case, the smoke is clear, so that's a good sign. Okay, done. Now when you have checked all this, turn off the car, and while turning off, just check for beautiful car. Yeah, while turning off, check for engine wiggle. Band kar de. So now you see the engine did not shake. That means the engine mounts are good. In case the engine shakes a lot while turning it off, that's a very bad sign. That means, I mean, a normal little bit of wiggle is fine, but if it shakes very much, that means your engine mounts need to be replaced. That's not the case in this one. Looks like everything is going good. Now we need to start the car one more time to check if there is an engine wiggle while starting. Start it. You see, the engine started perfectly smooth. There was no wiggle, so it's very good sign. The engine mounts are good, as I said earlier. Now, since the car has been running for past 5 minutes or so, it's a very good time to check for more leaks or anything, because when the engine is hot and running, that's the time when it might start leaking or something. But looks like everything looks pretty awesome on this car. I mean, yeah, there are no leaks or anything, no engine shaking, all fluids are good, everything good. Now we are done with all the engine checks. Everything looks good. We have checked the body also, so I am happy with the car. There is nothing major, so let me just close it. Next you want to check all the accessories, not your phone. The accessories, like all the lights are working, the front sensors, parking sensors are working, the center lock is working, then the mirror, इनको क्या बोलते हैं बे? What do we call them? इसको check the power windows are working. All the power windows should be working. This side mirror is operating as expected if it is electronics. And then if you pop the trunk, and the lights are working, and you see you have your spare tire in that. Okay, the spare tire looks good, it's in a good condition. You have the toolkit and everything. So these things you can check by yourself. So, कौन है भाई तू? So we also took a test drive, which is like, he also drove it, which is like a major part before buying the car. It tells you a lot of things. Right now I did the checks subconsciously, but I am going to make another video to tell you what all things you need to check while doing a test drive. But right now we are very happy with the car because everything looks good, it drives very good. So we found no major issues with the body of the car and no major issues with the engine, and the tires are good as well. The battery is good. We saw the engine start time is like, it takes just half of a second to start, so that's good. So we are going to make a deal on this car, and based on these things, like the headlight is changed and we found that the aircon is a little less cooler, based on these things we are going to make a bargain. Okay, a quick pro tip before making the final deal. Doesn't matter how much you like the car, never ever show your excitement to the dealer. Never tell him that you really like the car and you want to buy it and stuff, especially in Indian market. I know you are going to get a car, you must be really excited for it, but doesn't matter. It might take some practice, but do practice it and do not show your excitement and that how much you like the car to the dealer, because if you do so, in that case it will be really difficult to negotiate the price. So what you want to do is find as many faults as you can in the car, even the small things, make note of it, and based on that try to get a bargain, try to reduce the price from the dealer as much as you can, because eventually that's what you want. Okay, with that said, in this car I found some points like the AC is not cooling that good. The compressor looks fine, but I think the gas need to be replaced. The coolant was a bit depleted, and there this roof rail was coming off. Three things, and also the headlight thing that I showed you. So these four things I found, and I'm going to use them to make the dealer, reduce the price a bit. And I'm targeting to reduce the price by 15 to 20%, and let's see what bargain we get on this. Huh? So it's done. We managed to get a pretty sweet deal. The price is reduced by 10%, though it's not what I targeted for, but the reduced price also includes all the paperwork, and it also includes all the repairs that I just told you. All the four things will be repaired, and then the car will be delivered to us. So yeah, considering that, it meets our target, because all those things cost around another 10% of the value of the car. So yeah, that's what I targeted for.
And I check the aircon gas,
Okay.
check the coolant.
Okay, aircon gas and coolant.
So now,
Okay, and yeah, this one also.
okay.
So it includes Pusa Pakam. I don't know. That's an inspection from the JPJ, and then transfer name, insurance, and road tax. Okay. And I asked him to repair these two things, like his air conditioned gas and check coolant. Okay.
Okay.
So
If you like this video, please consider subscribing.